The San Francisco Giants constantly found a way to be pesky in 2024. But do they need to head into a rebuild in 2025? Stay tuned as I break down the team and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DonMartinoFB, riding solo today. But if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messages and alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And if you are interested in giving us a chance on Subtext, the link is in our bio wherever you're listening or watching, and if not, it's available on any of our social media platforms. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And all right, guys, San Francisco Giants time today. I hate to say they're an uninteresting team because I know we definitely got some Giants fans listening. But they, as I mentioned at the top, they found a way to be pesky. I think they found a way to be better than people thought they were going to be with their 80 wins and 82 losses on the season, which was good for fourth place in the NL West, which in itself was a tough division this year. You had two 90-game winners with the Dodgers and the Padres. And then you had the Diamondbacks, with the 89 wins and 73 losses. So, unless you were the Colorado Rockies, there wasn't really any hope for anybody there. But, like I said, the Giants fought, and I just like to say maybe it's more of the players that were uninteresting. I'm not sure what their future looks like. They have a couple of prospects that we'll get to at the end of the episode that I think could be interesting going forward. But what's the real plan here, right? What's the real plan for San Francisco? They're not in the heyday of Buster Posey and Tim Lincecum and those championship teams. I don't think they have enough young players on the roster to get it done as is. We'll get into the individual players. Might as well just start at the top with I think the bright spot as far as bats go. Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman actually had a very solid year in 2024. And you know what? We were getting him at a bargain in drafts. I want to pull that up here because I remember you were getting him very, very late. I had him definitely not ranked well enough. Matt Chapman was actually coming off the board was he really coming off the board this late at third base? Damn. Matt Chapman was coming off the board as the 33rd third baseman, pick 273. So he was a pickup in most leagues. I know I picked him up in a few leagues. He formerly played with the Oakland Athletics. He had some good years over there. This was his first year in San Francisco, and it's a tougher ballpark to hit in. But Chapman hit 27 home runs, stole 15 bags, topped his career high in steals by 11 bags, and his career high was last year with 4. Had 78 RBIs, had 98 runs, which was nice. He had 247, it was a streaky 247 for Chapman because there was times where he would completely disappear, and then there was weeks where I just felt like he was winning me my week. So Chapman, 31 years old, 32 next year, still at a point in his career where he can hit. I think he's feeling comfortable in San Francisco. I think he can have a very similar type season next year. And I wouldn't expect an increase or anything extra special anywhere with Chapman. I think this is just a very solid baseline. 15 steals, though, I think is a bit high. I don't know if he gets back to 15 steals. But you know what? I like the 247 batting average, the 27 bombs. I think the runs and the RBIs, you can interchange a little bit, up or down either way. Maybe not up with the runs, but, I would project maybe like a 90-run, 85 RBI season for him next year. I like Chapman. I'm probably going to have a couple of shares of him next year. I think he's going to move up from the 33rd third baseman to somewhere in the top 15-ish. I think people might even get a little bit bullish because I don't think their base is going to be as good next year. You might even see Chapman in a lot of people's top 10s. I'm not sure where I have him yet. I've been playing around my rankings, as you guys, if you've been listening, so I don't even think I really touched third base too much yet. But I do like me some Chapman. Let's move on to another veteran with this team. Let's talk about Michael Conforto. Was useful this year. A nice little comeback year for Conforto. Where we hadn't really seen him do, much of anything in a couple of years. Especially he didn't play in 2022 with the big injury, and then honestly hasn't been really great or even that useful in fantasy since all the way back in 2019. So Conforto in 2024, also 31 years old, had 130 games played, 438 at-bats, 56 runs, 27 doubles, 20 homers, 66 RBIs, and he hit 237. Chapman's going to be, Conforto's going to be more of a deeper league guy. Your 5 outfielder type league, stuff like that. I'm not even sure if he's still under contract with San Fran, to be honest with you, going into next season. Trying to pull that up. So I think he actually, I think this was actually his last year with San Fran. So you know what? To be TBD with Conforto, actually, to see if he winds up back here next year. So I won't get the conversation too deep with him, but you know what? Shout out to Conforto for just having a nice little bounce back year. Let's get into the younger versions of the bats, right? Let's get into, is this enough for the future for the San Francisco Giants? Let's talk about Heliot Ramos. Heliot Ramos is a guy that we've talked about on this podcast. I want to say to almost nauseum, just because he was a guy that, another streaky guy, ups and downs. On total, though, Heliot Ramos' numbers looked really good this season, and he was an all-star, 24 years old. 121 games, 475 at-bats, 54 runs, 23 doubles, 3 triples, 22 homers, 72 RBIs, 6 steals, and he hit 269. Now, Heliot Ramos is a guy that's been in the San Francisco Giants minor league system since he's 17 years old, back in 2017, ironically enough. And he's done a decent job along the way. He's had some, double-double seasons where 14 homers, 15 steals back in 2021. The batting average wasn't super sticky, but he's a kid that's been developing with age. He's always had the talent to, be a successful baseball player, right? And the underlying stuff for, Heliot Ramos, most of it looks pretty good. That we believe in the batting average. No, actually not the batting average. We believe in the power. He's hitting the ball really hard. He's barreling it up. The batting average, on the other hand, is actually, 255. I don't think he's going to be blowing anybody away there. He's above average in sprint speed, so he is quick. Could Ramos be, a guy who touches around 2020, hits 255 to 260 with some decent counting stats, depending on where he's hitting in that San Francisco Giants lineup? Yeah, that's probably where I project him. I think he's going to probably wind up, for me, I'd say like a top 35, 40 outfielder. And, I still think there's upside. I still think there's room to grow for a kid who's, 25 years old and had so a little bit of prospect pedigree, not like an overwhelming amount, but at least, he made buzz. It's the reason that he was, in the minor league system at 17 years old. So let's see. I think the key thing for Ramos, right? I think what he needs to focus on is batting average. If he can, work on that plate discipline a little bit, work on that eye a little bit in the off season, and be a consistent 270 hitter, 20 homers, maybe even like 25-ish homers with, 20 plus steals. I think that's a guy that's going to be useful, and I really think there's room to profit there. Let's sneak in this last bat here. Before we move on, let's talk some Tyler Fitzgerald. He is another guy that, had a little bit of prospect buzz, comes up through the minor league system, gets a chance to play this year. And overall, once again, the guy the numbers look good for him. He is a little bit older than Ramos. He is 26 this past season, Tyler Fitzgerald. He played 96 games for the Giants this year. 314 at-bats, 53 runs, 19 doubles, 2 triples, 15 homers, 34 RBIs with 17 steals, 108 strikeouts to 22 walks, and a 280 batting average. Now, Fitzgerald, through his minor league career, had a strong 2023 minors with the 22 homers, 32 steals, 292 batting average. and has an okay track record through his minor league career. I'll be honest with you, he wasn't somebody that I was super familiar with, until last year, what he did in the minors, and seeing him getting the call, show some success is interesting because I think the speed's legit. He's one of the fastest players in the MLB, so I think he's a guy that can go out there and steal bags. But I don't know if the power is legit. The underlying stuff doesn't support the power. In his minor league career, he did, have a couple of 20 bomb seasons. So, it's something that he could tap into at 6'1", 205. He's a fairly big dude. I just don't know how sticky it is. There's a lot of guys like this. I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I think it was Oscar Gonzalez. I was all over him from he played for Cleveland. He hit against the Yankees in the playoffs, and I was just like, you know what, this guy's going to be absolutely, fantastic. And he actually wound up on the Yankees, oddly enough. But you know what, he had the good, 2022 season, 11 homers, 296 batting average. He was a kid that had a good minor league track record. And I just don't want to get caught in that, Vin loop again with the Tyler Fitzgerald guy that, it was never really blowing anybody away in the minors. Like I said, has an okay track record. The underlying stuff doesn't support it. Fitzgerald, probably a top 55 outfielder for me. I'll be more in on Ramos than Fitzgerald. But I also think I don't even know if we'll get better value on Fitzgerald than Ramos. But we'll see. We'll see where things go. Guys, I want you to stay locked on with me because we're going to do starting pitching next. And the starting pitching is a lot more fun than the hitting, I promise you. So, guys, stay locked on as we talk about names like Blake Snell, Logan Webb, and more coming up next. And real quick, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get in the action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off and which ones aren't. Make your Prize Picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinion into real money all season long on Prize Picks. And are you watching for Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long, and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then once again, I want to talk to you guys about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. It's going to be your ultimate fantasy baseball companion as this offseason continues to unfold. You can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. You're going to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including rankings updates, which are coming out real soon. We're going to do way too early sleepers, breakouts, and bust. And we're strictly only going to be answering keeper and dynasty questions when it comes to, fantasy baseball through the Subtext platform this offseason. So you're going to want to make sure you stay locked on there with us. This is going to be where the path to your victories begin. So subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And all right, guys, I promised you some starting pitching, and here we are. Where's the better place to start than with Logan Webb, right? I mean, with Logan Webb, I'll say this. He didn't have a bad year. It's just disappointing because Logan Webb has such good stuff, and I feel like not just myself, but myself and a lot of other, not even just experts, but fantasy baseball players, really were hoping that there's another level here, particularly when it comes to the strikeouts. So let's go back to 2023 for Logan Webb. He had 11 wins, 13 losses, a 3.25 ERA, and 33 starts. He had 216 innings pitched, 194 strikeouts with a 107 whip. And then this year for Logan Webb, it was, 33 starts again. They almost swapped the win-loss record with 13 wins to 10 losses. 3.47 ERA, 204 innings, and he took a total step backwards with the strikeouts. He dropped down to 172 strikeouts and took a step backward with the whip too, to a 1.23 whip. So Logan Webb, I believe, was a guy that was being pushed up. I tried my best. I didn't really push him up too high. At the end of draft day, Logan Webb was going as an SP1. As the 12th starting pitcher off the board at pick 46. And it was, if you had the tough decision of going, because the next pitcher up was Tarik Skubal, and Tarik Skubal, 13th SP off the board, pick 48. If you listen to me, I know Matt didn't have him ranked this way, but I know for a fact I had Skubal over Webb, and I'm actually pulling up my rankings from last year as we speak. Just to let you guys know, if you were a member of the subtext and you looked at my rankings, I actually had Tarik Skubal at 12. I have Logan Webb at 14. So I know it's only a difference of a couple, but you know what? I had it ranked differently, and I was a person that did think Logan Webb had another level, but I knew Skubal had another level. There's a difference between knowing and guessing. Like, Logan Webb has the stuff to get the strikeouts, but never has really shown that over K per 9 potential in the majors his whole career, where Skubal has. Now, I don't want to keep talking about Skubal. We've talked about him a lot. I want to talk more about Logan Webb. And he's never been a guy that's been really good at, suppressing hits. He gives up a lot of hits. He gets his outs that way. I always thought he could be more of a guy that leans into, his breaking stuff, which is really, really good, and, get more strikeouts that way. Even his fastball is a good fastball too. It has nice movement on it. That sinker that Logan Webb throws is such a really good pitch for him. It has the sweeper. The sweeper is actually a little bit better. That sweeper is what I'm talking about. So I think if he actually featured the sweeper a little bit more, because last year Logan Webb's sweeper only got hit at a 208 batting average. He was throwing it about 21% of the time, as where his sinker last year was getting hit at a 313 clip. Even this year, he said, I'm going to feature the sinker even more. Last year, Logan Webb threw the sinker 33% of the time. This year was up to 39. He dropped down his changeup usage. His changeup got hit a lot worse this year than it did last year, so maybe that's what he was trying to fix. But I've watched a lot of Logan Webb starts, and that sweeper is deadly, man. It's a really good pitch for him. So we always thought he could get that strikeout, like K per 9 higher. I don't think I'm not going to have Logan Webb inside my top 15 starting pitchers this year. I think he's going to be more of a low-end SP2 that I'm avoiding, to be honest with you. It is what it is with Logan Webb. He's going to be 28 next year. He's had 4 seasons in the bigs where he's thrown at least 145 innings. And that's going back since 2021. Let's just talk about the kind of guy he's been since then. It's 124 starts, a 3.18 ERA, 761 innings, 687 strikeouts, a 1.14 whip. And that's about what I'm expecting from Logan Webb next year. Under a K per 9, a low to mid 3s ERA, and a whip that's going to be around a 1.15. And that to me in a 12-man league, I'm a little upset if that's my SP3, to be honest with you. If I walk away with an SP3 that's not getting me a K per 9, if you supplemented your guys at the top getting you the strikeouts, then it's okay. Then I'm not super mad at it. But you can't. It's a dangerous game to play with Logan Webb. I'm not predicting any upside into him next year. I'm going to be honest. I'm gonna take it where it is. Probably have him around SP24, to be honest with you, to where teetering on that, low end SP2, higher end SP3. So I'm going to take back what I said. I'll take that as an SP3. I'll take those numbers. I'll take a low 3s ERA with a little bit under a K per 9 and a 1.15 whip. You get higher, any higher on that whip though, I'm backing back out. So before, I spent a lot of time here on Logan Webb, but you know what? He's one of the starting pitchers people are going to have a lot of questions on going into next year. I got Blake Snell and Kyle Harrison coming up next for you guys. So make sure you stay locked on with me. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable, hard mints, and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free trial online today. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Once again, that's hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compound products, which are not approved by or verified for safety by effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. And all right, folks, let's jump back into the fun. Let's talk some Blake Snell. Blake Snell, man, he put it together for, a lot more than he normally does. There still was that little bit of buying window that we get almost every year with Blake Snell. Coming over to the Giants this year, he did get a late start, so I'm going to chalk that up to, what most of it is, but we know Blake Snell. We know what Blake Snell is at this point in his career. He had a bad 2019 and he had a bad 2021, but if you go back since 2018, Blake Snell's been almost the same guy every year. We're going to do what we did with Logan Webb, same thing with Blake Snell. We're going to go back even more a couple years. So we're going to go from 2018 to 2024. Over that time, Blake Snell is 65 wins, 43 losses, over 168 starts, a 3.03 ERA, 878 innings, 1,151 strikeouts. The whip over that time is a 1.16. So everyone wants to always talk about how bad Blake Snell's whip is, but we're talking about his last 878 innings. It's a 1.16 whip. The FIP over that time, a 3.22. Blake Snell's elite. Blake Snell is one of the best starting pitchers in the game. He's a top 10 starting pitcher for next year. I think we got even good value on Snell this year, too. Blake Snell was SP21, pick 68. If you got him as your SP2, you kind of laughed your way to the bank as long as you didn't trade him and you hung in there. Last year, I had Blake Snell as my SP15. A little bit, I probably should have been a little bit higher on him, to be honest with you. I definitely should have had him over Logan Webb, but that just shows you I had him as a high end, SP2, as where this would had him as a little bit of a lower SP2. Let's see what happens going into next year. Let's pull up those 2025 rankings that you will get if you are on subtext with us at some point when I get these a little bit more fine tuned. Right now, Still, for me, I have him at SP, let's say 8. Let's say 8, because I'm still, these rankings are fluid. So I'm going to say I have Blake Snell at SP 8 right now. Starting pitcher is going to be tougher than it was this year. I think starting pitcher going into 2024, it looked like it was going to be a lot better than it actually was. And I think a guy like Blake Snell, who performed really well. I don't even know if I read you off the numbers for the full season this year for Blake Snell, but let's do it. It was 20 starts, a 3.12 ERA, 104 innings pitched, 145 strikeouts, and a 104 WHIP. I just think Blake Snell, we can expect a 1.15 WHIP. A low 3s, even maybe a high 2s ERA, 180 innings, 220 plus strikeouts, and it's just eliteness. It's a very Cole Reagans-y type of eliteness, with Cole Reagans even is a very similar type of pitcher to Blake Snell. I think they're both going to be very similar in my rankings. But Blake Snell, really, really good starting pitcher. You're going to want to make sure that you grab yourself a share of him when in doubt. You could trust Blake Snell. Maybe he'll get, like I said, give you a couple bad starts at the beginning, but he always figures it out. Let's move on to Kyle Harrison. Young starting pitching here. Was a very high end prospect coming up through the San Francisco Giants system. Had a mediocre year. I did have him pegged for being a little bit better. I kind of like taking him at the end of deeper drafts last year. But you know what? More mediocrity for Kyle Harrison. 24 starts from this year, a 4.56 ERA, 124 innings, 118 strikeouts with a 1.34 whip. I don't know, man. I think you can get him for free next year if you want him. Even in the minors in 2023, it was tough. But he had a really, really good showing in 2022 in the minors. It was 25 starts for Kyle Harrison, a 2.71 ERA, 113 innings, 186 strikeouts, and a 1.13 whip. I think Harrison at 22 years old this past season, 23 next year. There's a way. There's a path where Kyle Harrison, figures it out. Can have like a mid-3s ERA with over a K per 9. The whip is something I think he'll struggle with for a while. I think he'll have to tap into another version of himself to get that figured out. But we'll see. The fastball is something that is really what's good for him. The breaking stuff is something he needs to work on. He's throwing that fastball 57% of the time, almost 58% of the time. So when you're not really fooling anybody, and then you break your slurve and your changeup and your slider all getting hit over, for a 275 batting average or higher, it's going to be hard to have success. So I think the key for Kyle Harrison is developing those other pitches. The fastball, works for him. So there's a path. A free 99 pick next year. I hope he's Kyle Harrison's a young pitcher who goes to like Driveline or Tread. One of these places that work with these young starting pitchers and help them improve in the off season. Because they're actually really good at it. They're well renowned with it at this point. So I think that would benefit a guy like Kyle Harrison a lot, who is 6'2", 200 pounds, lefty. Has the pedigree, so let's see where things go. But he's a guy who is going to be really, really low on my starting pitcher rankings unless I see something different. Let's move on here. Let's talk about the closer situation, which was interesting. Camilo Doval, right? What happened? What was the big fall from grace for Camilo Doval this year? I don't know. I can't tell you, but I can read you off the numbers real quick and we can discuss and maybe figure this thing out together. So it was a 4.88 ERA for Doval. 62 games played, 23 saves, 59 innings pitched, 78 strikeouts, and a 1.57 whip. So Doval in his career has a 1.27 whip over 221 innings and a 3.33 ERA. If Doval does happen to wind up with the job going into next year, which there is a chance that he might. So we'll kind of see where the thing goes, right? Because I'm a little bit. He's somebody I'm probably not buying into. I'm going to be honest. There's a chance that he comes back and bounces back, and he's really great, right? But that's just such a big fall, big fall from grace. And I don't know what the price is going to be on Doval. I'll tell you this, if it's outside the top 15 closers for Camilo Doval next year, and it's like announced that, hey, he has the job back, we're going to give it to the kid, I might jump back in. So it looks like his breaking stuff was working for him. Like he throws a nasty slider that got hit for a 184 batting average. But his cutter and his sinker got rocked this year. His cutter got hit for a 284 batting average, and his sinker got hit for a 375 batting average. And those pitches, respectively, sinker 14% of the time he was throwing it, and 34% of the time for the cutter for Camilo Doval. Man, it's got to change because the cutter even last year was a great pitch for him. Only getting hit out of 175 clip. So something's got to give here for Doval. Let's talk about, the guy who might take his job, who did take his job, Ryan Walker. Now, Ryan Walker, who's somebody who's intriguing. I believe he's going to be 28 or 29 next year. Let me double check myself. But he's somebody who's always pitched fairly well. 29 years old for Walker next year. Ryan Walker, that is. And he's always let's just talk about his career so far in the bigs. He's thrown 141 innings, 177 strikeouts, 2.48 ERA, and that's across 125 games. And he has a 108 WHIP over that time. Ryan Walker, who was a guy who originally had started, a couple of games here for the Giants. He even started one game this past season for the Giants until he found his home in the bullpen with a 1.91 ERA this year. He picked up 10 saves along the way, 80 innings pitched, 99 strikeouts for Ryan Walker. I think there's a world where they say, hey, we're going to split the saves and we're going to just let Ryan Walker get out there and, mix and match situational stuff. So that's something we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled on, because I do want to jump into their number one prospect. I do want to talk a little bit about Bryce Eldridge here. Big boy, 6'7", he's got the size, got the power, and he's been performing in the minors over the last, couple of seasons here for those San Francisco Giants. That is Bryce Eldridge. As I pull those numbers up, he's 223 pounds, has a 60 out of 80 grade power, has a 60 out of 80 grade arm. His hit tool's 50 out of 80, which is, solid, but 291 batting average for Eldridge this year. He hit, 23 home runs in 116 games, 76 runs, 92 RBIs. He stole 6 bags, had 59 walks to 132 strikeouts, which is not so bad. I like Eldridge. I think, I know he's a first baseman, but I think if he's somebody if he's out there in your, if he's somehow out there in your dynasty keeper league, probably, not playing one of the best leagues, but if you can acquire him for cheap, or if, he's out there in like a dynasty league where you maybe just have or a keeper league where you just have like a minor league system and stuff like that, and you could work him into a trade, I think that's going to be something that will be beneficial in the long run. I really like his prospects going forward. But, shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen each and every day. And all right, guys, that is all. So I will see you next time. See ya.